Yeah. That's what.
That's funny. That's funny. I think that's my earphone. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's focus around your line. Surprise. Yes, en jou temperatuur is te hoog. Ja. Ja. Dit gaan alright. Wat gister was 'n bietjie van 'n disaster want die agtertel fiber het gebreek by Cape Gate. So die hele dag gister kon ek niks stream nie. Ek het al klaar email gestuur. Tot my free internet vir 'n jaar. So daar uitgehaal is dat ek nog weet ek verloor het. Ja. Nee. Ja, van die dinge. I mean, hy verstaan. Nothing you can do about it. Gelukkig die ander ding is dit is wat in Teams. So ons kan altyd daai recording kry en restream, refeed. Dit is dan nie live nie, maar ten minste daar nog steeds 'n rekord daarvan. Ja, James was daar, it was alright. Ja. Moeilik. Moeilik. Want dit werk. Ek werk, maar al die werk, kinders is ooralste chaos. Nee, dat was nie want die weer was nie reg nie. En dan gaan nie al die pad workshops toe kom nie, lorries kom ry as dit reën nie. So, hulle kan nie werk as dit reën nie. Ja, ek weet nie. Hang af van die weer. As dit reën kan hulle nie werk nie. Correct. Ek weet nie. Want ek sit hier binne. Dat was gister werk, hè? So was het chaos, ja, want het is my internet nog af en is running around en is crisis management. En ek kan by niks uitkom nie. Correct. Ek weet nie. Ek weet nie wat die plan is, ek sien nie meer. Ja, okay. Ja, want dit gaan chaos wees nou daar. Hulle is ons nie meer daar nie. So dit gaan 'n baie moeilike tyd wees van ek laat dit van die naweek af, want hulle kry ek kry vandag stok. Whatever. Ja, mense maak wat hulle wil. Dit jammer jy kan nie so baie koop nie. It's like 5 pakkies. You guys. Op nie. Okay. What?
Hello.
Yes.
because they want me to read the agenda, and then can I read it? Will be continuing. Yeah.
And then meeting notice, but it's not open. Maybe we're getting there to open it.
You see this?
It's little bit complicated. The Zoom one is simple.
They're seeing the folder, but now if I open the agenda on the folder, they say they can't see the agenda. They see the folder where all those documents are in.
Chair?
Yes.
Hello, Chair. I agree with you that the Zoom one is more simpler than this one.
This one
Microsoft Teams is very difficult. Yes.
Do you see something now?
No, we just see the format, and then they've highlighted the agenda. I don't know what is it that we need to do ourselves there.
On the screen now. Okay, the other screen is off.
Okay, let me share. Do you see it now?
No.
Nothing.
Nothing, Bracky. Joe.
Okay, now we see the email of Shanaj Dramat on behalf of King. Whose screen is this, Braking? Who's controlling the screen?
I've got a guy from IT. So I'm not sure which one do you see, or you see mine or his.
We see a picture there.
Do you see me?
We see you.
We see you on the cell phone.
Yes. Then when I click here, you don't see the agenda. You still don't.
I don't know where those who are using laptops. Myself, I'm using a phone. I don't see anything.
I'm using a laptop. I don't see anything.
It disappeared, King. There was something before.
Now?
Nothing.
Nothing.
We see only our pictures.
You only see me.
Chair, I would recommend that we proceed, that we just read out the agenda. And we have the emails of the presentation so that we can proceed, because time is running out, Chairperson.
Yeah, and this report need to be adopted. Since honorable members, the report was circulated to honorable members, I happen to agree with the proposal by the whip. Do we all agree that he read for us the agendas for as a formality so that we can follow it up and allow him to present the report to us so that we can engage and then adopt it?
Agreed.
As agreed. King, can you quickly pronounce the agenda for us?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Number one, the agenda, it's opening, welcome, and purpose of the meeting. Number two, it's roll call and apologies. Number three, it's adoption of the agenda. Number four, it's consideration of the 2020 draft budget vote report. Number five, it's deliberations and adoption. Then number six, it's closing remarks and closure.
Thank you. As read, honorable members, let's start. We are very much sorry about the inconvenience. This is technology, but at least we are trying our best because we are trying to do our duties as mandated by the rules and orders of the National Assembly. Honorable members, once again, good morning and welcome to the Portfolio Committee on Small Business Development on Budget Vote 36 of the Department for the financial year 2021. Sbu, are you trying to bring back the what you call the president? You might try, but I will be as agreed. So, honorable members, you are welcome. What I can say to you is that the report to be tabled before us is just a formality because we are going to request the department to go back and review it after the minister has tabled his appropriation. So we'll try maybe to give some input, but we'll really wait for the minister to table because there will be a lot of budget cuts because of this COVID-19. I'm just happy to see you, all of you, being fresh. Stay at home and try to be safe. It's a very difficult situation we are faced with, but I'm happy members are still committed to their work. With these few remarks, you are warmly welcome. The purpose is to consider the report of the department for the 2020-21 financial year. I will now zoom to item 2, which is apologies and roll call. I can see King is still busy. Can you give us apologies if ever we do have it?
Thank you, Chair. So far, I haven't received any apology, but I was still trying. I'll come back. I was still trying to check all the people that have been able to participate.
How many members? How many members do we have? Can you just brief us on that one? Who have joined us? I can see Honorable Hendricks. I've seen Honorable April. I've seen Honorable Bridget. I've seen Honorable Kula. I've seen Honorable Tom. I've seen Honorable Singh. Am I missing anyone?
Yeah, Chair, we've got Honorable Tomelong, we've got Honorable Mieni, we've got Honorable Jacobs, we've got Honorable Hendricks, we've got Honorable April, we've got Honorable Kruger, we've got Honorable Lubengo, we've got Honorable TK, and then we've got you, Chairperson. So
Thank you.
the one that I haven't seen, it's Honorable Mbele and Honorable Professor Msimang.
Okay.
And Honorable
Thank you.
Secretary.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chair,
Yes.
yes, Chair. I must apologize. I must leave the meeting. I have to go for an emergency procedure in my tooth. So, and it was set up 2 weeks ago already. And I can't wait. I can't postpone it for another 2 weeks. I will die. So, unfortunately, I have to leave the meeting at 9:30. But
Okay.
when I'm back, I will try to get into it again. But it seems like it's going to be a short week.
Thank you, Honorable Kruger. He will be released, but be careful. Those dentists, they must also observe the issue of the COVID regulations. We still need you.
Yes, of course. And I'm an old man, so I'm on the risk factors.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Will you please
Yes,
ask other members to unmute? Because it's
okay.
noisy.
Because
Yeah, please.
there is lot of noise, but the host has got that responsibility to can do that. King, I think you must be in the position to try to manage the sound. Honorable members, you are requested to unmute your gadgets for harmony's sake. We don't need that background. There is a lot of noise. Yes, I will appreciate that. And then the next item is adoption of the agenda. Can I have a mover from any of us? Anyone? Unmute and then move for the adoption of the agenda, honorable members.
I do move, Chair, for adoption of the agenda as it is presented.
Thank you, Honorable Tomelang. Any seconder?
I do second, sir.
Thank you so much. Now let's move to item 4, which is consideration of the report of the Portfolio Committee on Small Business Development, budget vote 36 for 2020-21 financial year. King, are you ready?
Yes, Chair. Thank you for that. I'll hand over to Mr. Gumede, who will take us through.
Thank you, Mr. Gumede. Please, time is not smiling with us. Try to be business-like and inform members, since we have got the problem of the screen, assist us about indicating pages which you will be dealing with, so that it is be easier for our members to follow. Over to you, Brasbu.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you, King. Good morning, members. I've projected the document on the screen. Is it visible from your side?
Yeah, we can see it. Thanks for that.
Okay, that's good. Chairperson, if you allow me, we'll just use the same procedure or process that we've used in the past, where I'll just do the overview of the entire document, indicating to the members that this particular section deals with 1, 2, 3. Then we'll zoom straight to the observations and the recommendations. Is that okay? Okay,
yes, no, that will be excellent.
That's fine, Chairperson. So in terms of the structuring of the document, Chairperson, as you've already indicated earlier on, this document is based on the APP and the new strategic plan of the department. However, the strategic plan of the department has not yet been presented to the portfolio committee. As a result, you see, as I go through the document, that, for instance, there are new programs and sub-programs, but we will dive deeper into that as I go through the document. Chairperson, from page 1 of the document, it's the introduction. It's basically where we give the background in terms of this particular process as it relates to the constitution of the country and the money bills amendment procedure. On page 2, we cover the purpose of the budget. It's just a standard procedure that we reflect this on the document. Also on page 2, honorable members, it's objectives of the report, which basically indicate, describe and analyze the budget of the department, which is now vote 36. I hope members have noted that in the past it was vote 31. Now with the configuration of the state departments, it's now vote 36. For instance, on 1.3.2, we also touch briefly on vote 39 because CIFA still receives its allocation via the Department of, it was the Department, Economic Development Department in the past. Again, with the reconfiguration of the department, it's now under the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. 1.4, honorable members, it's just the process that the portfolio committee followed. You will note, for instance, that in the past, CEDA would be included in this budget vote report, but because of that directive from the House Chairperson that all the budget vote reports must be adopted as in today, we have had to exclude CIFA. However, you know, the Minister of Finance will table the revised budget around June, and then another budget vote report then will be considered, which will include CEDA. On 1.5, honorable members, on page 3, it's just an indication that the special adjustment budget, it's just to acknowledge really that we are right in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in terms of the budget, there has been adjustments here and there from what had initially been presented maybe to National Treasury and to the Parliament. On page 4, honorable members, we just look at the overview of the department. We look at the aims and purpose of the department. These have also been revised as per new strat plan of the department. We look at the mandate, we look at the vision, we look at the mission, the values. The values have also been revised in terms of the new strat plan. We look at the legislative and policy mandates. Nothing much has changed here. Then on 2.7 of number 5, as indicated earlier, these are the program are per new strategic plan of the department. On page 6, honorable members, we look at the policy priorities. There is still the National Development Plan. The department is directed to implement chapters 3 and 6 of the NDP. We now have a new medium-term strategic framework, 2019 to 2024. And in terms of that new MTSF, there are 3 pillars underpinned by 7 priorities. And one of those 7 priorities, you've got economic transformation and job creation, which literally forms the basis of the DSBD deliverables or mandate. If you look at priority 2, for instance, the department, some of the key functional areas of the department would as a result include, but not limited to, upscaling and expanding support to small businesses, creating more jobs, drive inclusive economic growth, champion reindustrialization, increase access to and uptake of ICT, ensure competitive and accessible markets, and the mainstreaming of youth, women, and people living with disabilities. Honorable members, on 3.3, we also look at the State of the Nation address as delivered by the State President in 13 February 2020, and some of the key policy issues that the President highlighted for implementation by the Department of Small Business Development. On 3.4, it's just the planned policy initiatives as per the APP that was presented to the portfolio committee. I'll jump to number 4 on page 9, which is the budget analysis. Honorable members, one of the things that we did this time around in this budget vote report, we did not include a separate chapter on the estimates of national expenditure. This is perhaps because the information that the department had submitted to National Treasury had actually been changed or reconfigured on the new strategic plan. For instance, the E&E still makes mention of Program 1 being administration, Program 2 being sector policy and research, Program 3 integrated cooperatives development, and Program 4 enterprise development and entrepreneurship. Whereas the new strat plan and APP, we now have new programs or amended programs, so to speak, which one is administration, it hasn't changed. You have sector and market development, you have enterprise development, and the last one is development finance. However, it's important, honorable members, to indicate that in terms of the information that was submitted to the National Treasury, that was basically published on the estimates of national expenditure. According to National Treasury, this was before the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic. Expenditure was expected to increase at an average annual rate of 6.8% from 2.3 billion in 2019-2020 financial year to 2.8 billion rands by 2022 and 23. There is a noise background. I don't know where it's coming from. I hope all the members.
Myself, I can hear you clearly.
Oh,
But
okay,
the honorable members, can you unmute, please? Proceed.
Okay, Chairperson, on page 10, 4.2 on page 10, there we look again at the revised programs and budget allocation. This again is based on the 2020-2025 strategic plan and APP of the department. For instance, on program 1, honorable members, the department was allocated for the MTEF period, the department is allocated 409 million. I hope you can see that. For the current financial year, which is 2021-2022, the department is allocated 129 million. This is basically just a revision of the information that has already been presented to the portfolio committee. On program 2, honorable members, we've got sector and market development, which is allocated 165 million rands from 117 million rands during the current financial year. In terms of the current financial year, it's actually allocated 52 million rands. On program 3, it's enterprise development. It's slightly been amended. There is also a mention here that the program aim is to oversee the promotion of an ecosystem that enhances entrepreneurship and the establishment, growth, and sustainability of small businesses. In terms of its budget allocation, it's a 2.8 billion for the MTEF period. For the current financial year, it's allocated 917 million. Then the last one, honorable members, which is also a new program, it's called Development Finance. It's allocated 4.2 billion for the MTEF period. Then for the current financial year, the allocation is 1.2 billion. Then that's it from the department. Then you quickly go straight to a small enterprise financial agency. As indicated earlier on, honorable members, CEDA is not included in this document. So in terms of CIFA, the presentation starts from page 15 to page 24. It's from page 15 to page 24. We look at the legislative and policy mandates that underpins CIFA work. You look at the CIFA strategic pillars, the vision, mission, and values. We looked at the objectives. Then we looked at the CIFA program overview, which has not changed from the previous CIFA corporate plan. Then we look at the, on page 22, we look at the financial considerations. I think here, honorable members, it's important again to indicate that in terms of the CIFA initial capitalization, it was derived from the three main sources, one being the KULA and SAMAF, two being the annual transfers from the fiscus. This was done via EDD, and the last one being the long-term interest loan from IDC. Then on the last part, on table 10, honorable members, I think it's important to indicate that for the current financial year, the MTEF allocation for CIFA has declined by almost 24 million rands to 246, which is a bit of a concern. Again, if you look at table 11, that 150 million rands. It's an IDC drawdown. It's that interest-free loan from IDC that has been advanced to CIFA. Well, there are observations around these particular issues, honorable members, but the MTEF reductions, from what CIFA has informed the portfolio committee, will have significant impact on CIFA's financial sustainability, business performance, cash balances, and reserves. Then on observations, we have 10 observations. I will quickly go through them. One being, I'll try to read quite fast. The portfolio committee notes that this year's budget vote process takes place right in the middle of the COVID-19. That coincidentally came at a time when the South African economy was already under severe strain, posing not just a health risk to the people, but threatening livelihoods as well. The road to recovery will certainly be a challenging and daunting task. The committee cautiously welcomes the government risk-adjusted approach to reopening the economy. Observation 1, honorable members, to observation 3. It's basically an acknowledgement of the COVID-19 pandemic, the disruption that it has had on the economy of the country. Well, I've noted that there is no corresponding recommendation around this particular issue, but we'll discuss that under recommendations. On 10.4, honorable members, the committee observes that prior to the outburst of the COVID-19 pandemic, the government had already approved the 2019-2024 MTSF, which basically paved the way for all the government departments, including DSBD, to conclude their strategic plans and accompanying APPs for 2020-21 financial year. While the portfolio committee is mindful that these strategic plans, APPs, performance targets and budgets will be reviewed once the Minister of Finance tables a revised budget in June 2020, there are, however, few legacy areas that require specific and urgent attention by the department. On 10.5, during the previous budget vote report, the portfolio committee noted that due to the interconnectedness between the structure of the department and the strategy, the long outstanding issue of the organizational structure will only be attended to once the department initiates its strategic planning activity. Back then, in July 2019, the portfolio committee had further recorded and concurred with the department DPSA guidance to the department of 2018 to the effect that the changes to organizational structure of the Department of Small Business Development should be held in abeyance until the 6th administration is in place, given the anticipated change expected to the machinery of government. This will also afford the new executive authority an opportunity to apply his or her mind on the configuration of the department. Honorable members, as indicated earlier on, the strat plan of the department has not been presented to the portfolio committee. So it's important to note that, or to underscore that as we move forward. On 10.6, as mentioned here in above, the estimates of the ENE, that is National Treasury, is not aligned to the policy and planning strategic documents. The new planning structure has 14 sub-programs, while recording an increase from 11. In fact, which means it's an increase from 11 to 14. So we are making an observation here, or to say strategic alignment of the plans and budget would help the department allocate resources not only efficiently, but also in an effective manner. On 10.7, the portfolio committee further records that CIFA ownership by EDD/DTIC via IDC has been on the agenda for quite some time. This includes the appointment of a permanent board, I was supposed to say permanent board, and the chief executive officer, as well as the issue of the pending amalgamation between CIFA and SIDA. On 10.8, CIFA annual reports have consistently demonstrated that most MFIs and RFIs that benefit from CIFA wholesale funding are predominantly white-owned. Also, the rate of interest charged by MFIs and RFIs is not being monitored by CIFA. Consequently, there's been instances where small enterprises are charged double the rate of what is permissible in terms of the National Credit Act. The committee observes that some of the previous portfolio committee recommendations does not find expression in the CIFA corporate plan. Self-reliant. The Grameen Bank has been mentioned quite a while, Grameen Bank of Bangladesh, and also the Limpopo-based Small Enterprise Foundation. At some point, we even took a resolution, honorable members, to visit the Small Enterprise Foundation in Limpopo. Their impairments are next to nothing compared to what is being recorded by CIFA. The last observation, honorable members, is around the IDC drawdown. Initially, it was 921 million. This is an interest-free loan that has been advanced by IDC to CIFA. However, according to CIFA, the IDC loan drawdown was necessitated by the worsening cash status of CIFA, with the depletion of cash resources over the 5-year period as a result of high staff cost, high impairments rates, and worsened property portfolios. Honorable members, it seems CIFA financial position is deteriorating. So a recommendation here to the portfolio committee per se is to say, as noted earlier, the MTF reductions will have a significant impact on CIFA's financial sustainability, business performance, and cash balances. There is a recommendation again around this particular issue. Honorable members, so far, what we did, we only did 5 recommendations. Members are welcome to add or to subtract or to amend if they feel maybe there are areas where maybe they are not clearly articulated or they do not represent the portfolio committee. The recommendation number 1, in fact, it should be 11.1. I will rectify that. During its strategic plan, annual performance plan presentation, the department informed the portfolio committee that it has experienced delays in the finalization of key policies. One of these being the National Small Enterprise Act. The portfolio committee is mindful of the significant disruption that is being caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and aware that many departments will have difficulty in meeting the timelines. However, the new normal requires a new mindset. The portfolio committee has been consistently informed that a lot of groundwork had already been achieved in as far as the review of the National Small Enterprise Act is concerned. The introduction of the bill to Parliament must be effected before the end of the current financial year, 2020-2021. That is the first recommendation from the Portfolio Committee around the introduction of the bill to Parliament. The recommendation number 2, it is envisaged that the current strategic plan, annual performance plan, performance targets and budgets will be reviewed as soon as the Minister of Finance delivers his amended budget in Parliament in June 2020. This will be an opportunity for the department to rectify some of the misalignments of the policy and planning strategy, which, as indicated above, reveals that the department, the budget of the department was tabled without taking into consideration the broader strategic focus of the department. The third recommendation, another critical policy issue that needs to be taken into account by the department as it reviews its strategic plan, is the macro organizational structure that is aligned to the broader policy objectives of the department. Honorable members, the department is still and currently operating on a startup structure. I think that is very important to note, because also the previous budget vote report, this issue was raised. The Department of Public Service Administration has in the past reiterated its commitment to assist the department to finalize its organizational structure. The organizational structure has direct implication on the cost structure and budget of the department. The fourth recommendation is the process of amalgamating CIFA and CEDA must be speeded up, and the strategic plan of the department must pronounce on the institutional realignment of these two and possibly other entities. I'm making an example of the National Empowerment Fund, because there is also a view that perhaps the NEF should be incorporated or collapsed under the Department of Small Business Development. CIFA need to be stabilized as a matter of agency in order to assist the department fulfill its mandate of improving access to finance for all South Africans and small enterprises. The last recommendation, honourable members, is a concern or alert with respect to the CIFA financial stability, which requires greater scrutiny and focus from the portfolio committee. The agency, since its inception, has struggled to collect outstanding loans, resulting in high impairments and debt write-offs, which often amount to millions. The situation is likely to get worse with the current and ongoing pandemic. MTEF allocations are being reduced or reprioritized, and interest-free loan from IDC, I mean, the CIFA has already started doing the drawdown on that interest-free loan. The portfolio committee needs a detailed appraisal report and a turnaround strategy from CIFA before the end of Q1 for the current financial year, and that is June. What we're basically saying is, honorable members, is the portfolio committee should prioritize this as an urgent matter. I think I'll stop there, honorable members and chairperson. Then we members can engage then with the document and make their contribution on inputs. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Smo, for the presentation. Honorable members, here we are. Here is the report for consideration by the portfolio committee, so that we are in the orders of our National Assembly. I will invite hands, honorable members, and then Sbu and King, you will assist me to observe members who will be raising their hands so that I can take it from there. Honorable members, the report seeks to inform us where there are gaps, and it's our responsibility as the portfolio committee to can indicate where we feel there are gaps and come up with proposals. That's why we are having observations as well as recommendations. But I will recommend that we add one recommendation here.
Okay.
In relation with the COVID-19, before other members can come in, to can say that we are aware about the disruption by this COVID-19, and we are aware that it's going to have a negative impact on the targets as well as the budget. But we are appealing that whatever they're trying to address, because the NCCC reflect also the relief funds to those vulnerable people on the ground, most especially our informal, our entrepreneurs in our rural areas. So I don't know how are you going to coin it, but it will be nice for us to also reflect on that one, because the end of the day, we want to see our people surviving. We won't allow this situation just to move on without notice. So, honorable members, I'm inviting hands. We'll go observation by observation, because what is key now is the observations and the recommendations which is before us. They have drafted 5 of them. You are at liberty to can come up with any recommendation which is related to the observation tabled, or which is related to the report itself. Can I have hands, please? Can someone open the videos?
TK.
TK's hand is up. Hello.
Can I be noted, Chair?
Okay.
Can I be noted, Chair?
Yes, Honorable Shomeland, you are noted. Next, who wants to speak? Honorable members, are we still together? Can you take off the screen, Smoke? Yes.
Chair, can you note me also, please?
Okay. Honorable.
Chair, Honorable Hendrik, I am covered. I'm not speaking.
Honorable Hendricks, ne?
No, I'm covered. I'm not speaking.
Okay, thank you, Papa. TK. Honorable TK.
Chairperson.
Yes.
Chairperson, it's King. The hands that I've seen, it's Honorable Langa.
Yes.
It's Honorable Komelong and
Yes.
Honorable Jacobs.
Okay. Are there any afterthoughts? But be mindful, this is a visual meeting. TK, you don't want to talk, my son.
I was waiting for the chairperson to allow me the platform.
Okay. You are noted, my son.
I understand, Chair, you are in the cold regions, so yeah, thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to the colleagues and Mr. Kumete, Mr. Gunene as well. My one is I just want clarity here. If our content advisor could assist on page 2, I think it's 1.3.2. It says to consider soon to be phased out due to recent reconfiguration of state departments. Board 39 as CIFA is now an agency of the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition through the IDC Corporation. So now I'm a bit puzzled here, because my understanding was that CIFA is entity under the Development of Small Business Development. And now on the presentation, it states that the CIFA allocation comes from that department. So I'm puzzled. I thought we are the committee that oversees CIFA and CEDA. So now if the allocation of CIFA comes elsewhere, and then how do we adopt the budget? On what grounds are we adopting this budget? The budget vote rather. And also, I think it was on the last recommendation that SIFA has struggled to collect outstanding loans, resulting in impairments. You know, we are continuously working on passing the budgets, but yet nothing is coming back. So clearly, there's a lot that is not right that is happening. We continuously adopting, instead of maybe rather trying to fix the issues that we have within the department, then continuously adopting on something that we know is not materializing, or rather is not assisting people on the ground. Because from where I stand, I sit on the business development portfolio committee, but in KZN, there's a very few people, not even more than 5 that I know that have been assisted by the department. So my concern here is this entity that is also funded from, that is deemed to be funded from another ministry, is struggling also to collect the outstanding loans. So I'm not sure if Chairperson, you get where I'm puzzled. But yeah, that is my submission. Thank you, Chairperson.
Chairperson, you must unmute.
Please unmute.
Can I come in, Chair? Chair?
Yes,
Can I come in, Chair?
Come in. I was.
Okay. All right. Okay. No, thank you, Chair, and greetings to all members. Chair, as I welcome this report, Chair, I want to agree with the initial recommendation that you have made. My reasons are, one, this year, Chair, we must agree that the budget vote has been interrupted by this COVID-19 pandemic, which means everybody and every life, even the economy, has been affected, Chair. So we can't just close our eyes and we are not intervening, because we have the responsibility as this portfolio committee to play oversight to make sure that the department is assisting our people that are challenged economically. So, but Chair, I want to speak directly on the recommendation 16.4, if you allow me, Chair. Chairperson.
Do so, Honorable.
Yes, Chair.
Do
I wanted to,
because
yes, I want to speak on the process of amalgamating cedar and sulfur, Chairperson, to say that we have resolved long time ago that the two entities must be put together. And when you look at the recommendation 16.4 and 16.5, it really indicates the challenge that cedar is facing now, and it has been in the public domain for a very long time, Chair. My proposal will be to say that I do see the recommendation and I fully agree with the recommendation, but I will that the department must speed up the process of ensure that they put the two departments together, because the two entities together, because really indeed we cannot have an entity that is not be able to account for such a very long time, according to recommendation 16.5 that says SIFA need financial stability. That is what I'm saying. I do support the recommendation. My other point, Chair, is in terms of your programs. I've learned, if I'm correct, that we have 5 programs, Chair. And I want to make a plea that the programs be implemented to the province, and they must be done so equally, because as this portfolio committee, we have the responsibility of playing oversight. As much as we have the responsibility of playing oversight, our responsibility is to make sure that our people are being assisted, and we cannot just say we have planned or we have seen this coming, the COVID-19 before. We must appreciate the letter that the department has and is still doing in terms of assisting by providing the relief fund to our people, Chairperson. My last point, Chairperson, will be program number 1, your administration. I want to make a recommendation, and I think that Zbu will help me to how to put it, to confine it in a proper manner. I've learned that we are still having some vacancies. That is why I'm talking about the program 1, which is the administration. My proposal will be to say that can the department make sure that they fill all senior management level position, and in the portfolio committee meetings that are to take place, give us the report. How far are they, or outline the plan? How far are they in terms of filling all the vacancies? Because it also affects the budget. But nevertheless, Chair, I do accept and approve the budget, knowing very well that there are challenges that have been noted in the observations, and we cannot implement or attend to them if we don't have a budget that has been approved. That is my submission, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Melani. The next speaker is Honorable Langa.
Sorry, Jacobs. Honorable Jacobs.
Okay. I did it deliberate.
Thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to all the members. Let me first record my appreciation for the report. I would also be one of those that would wholeheartedly accept and support the recommendations and the budget report. We are in very difficult times, so I think it's important that all of us push ahead and forge a common approach towards the pandemic, and also see how we can help small business during this very difficult period. Just some comments that I'd want us to emphasize, Chairperson. So last year, the Minister focused on about 3 or 4 issues. She's focused on the youth, where there was job creation for, and also youth entrepreneurs of 1,000 youth. There was also the She Trade platform that was also being earmarked, and then I think more significantly was the allocation of 1,000 locally produced products that government will procure across the different spheres of government, produced by our small SMMEs. So yesterday I went and visited a factory owned by an African woman in Philippi here on the Cape Flats, and she is making protective masks. And it's a real good news story, because she's a 40-something, and she's really saying that when she imports masks, it costs about 3 rand to import it. But when she buys the machinery, even though it's a big capital investment, it will cost us in the range of about 12 rand to produce the mask and the equipment and the gear here in South Africa. So she's taking a long-term investment. She's saying that let's invest, and that money, if that 3 rand leaves our country, it's gone forever. But if we invest in machinery, invest in jobs, invest in our business, that 12 rand will create many jobs. That 12 rand will create many opportunities, and it will have a spin-off, and it will have a maximum benefit. So there is many entrepreneurs out there. So just as we're having challenges, I think there's good news stories, and our job as the small business portfolio is to celebrate and welcome those things. I also share the recommendation, especially on 10.9, the observation that we must do more to find innovation. So clearly we need to look at how we can have a similar Grameen bank model, where we give small loans to people, especially in the micro industry. And I certainly want us as this portfolio chair, through your permission, to actually make work of the Limpopo-based small business entrepreneur model. We must go see that, because if their impairment is very good, then it's a model that we need to take forward. We will take hands with the department to ensure that we provide constructive feedback, ensure oversight, but also guide them, so it can't be the new normal. We must do more with the little money that we have. So we welcome the initiatives and we welcome this report. So I want to certainly support the recommendations in this report, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Langa. You're next. Honorable Langa.
Honorable Langa is TK Chairperson.
Chairperson.
Oh, hi, TK. You are incredible, man. Incredible. Okay.
Chairperson.
Yes.
The Honorable April also raised his hand.
Okay.
After we've taken the first round, yes.
Okay. Honorable April, can you come in, my son? Honorable April.
He's on mute.
Unmute your unmute.
Good morning, honorable members. I'm so sorry that I was on mute. I was just sitting and thinking why TK is getting 3 chances to speak, because he had the first chance, then before Faiz,
You are
and then
jealous, my son. You are both my
I
son.
don't know what is the issue here with TK. Anyway, I think I have been aptly covered and just wanted to re-emphasize the points that was made by Honorable Tlomelang as it pertains to the the move that has been in the public domain and in our committee for a long time, for the amalgamation of the departments, as it were. I think it is long overdue. I want to welcome the presentation that was given and want to thank the presenter that has given us the presentation. And I so move that we accept that presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, honorable members, for your input. What I would like to advise honorable members, if you check the recommendations by our administrators here, they are indicating the frustration which is being faced by the Department of DPSA, which is taking long. I think if Stronglu can write in bold letters that we are requesting DPSA to speed up their finalization of organograms, because even if we can recommend and do our oversight or monitor the department, but if that organizational structure is not finalized, there's little that the department can do. They can't move. So I'm supporting what you are saying, but at the same time, let's assist the department and check who is frustrating them, because you can't advertise post before that particular department has approved or finalized. I will request my officials to respond to the inputs where there are questions, maybe to try to address those questions before I make closing remarks. Thank you. Sbu.
Yes, Chair. Okay. No, it's fine. Starting with the Honorable Langa, I think the issue that is raising with regards to a CFA allocation, I think for the past 5 years, it's well documented that CFA has been receiving its allocation, MTEF allocation, via Economic Development Department. Well, we have not received any new information which suggests that CFA will officially be relocated to the Department of Small Business Development. So the presumption currently is that since EDD has been collapsed under the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, CFA will thus move with IDC to DTIC. Well, we are making an observation and recommendation around this particular matter to say, because it's sort of connected to the amalgamation process of CFA and CEDA. So the recommendation, the observation is there, the recommendation is there. That's number one. Number two, in terms of the CFA financial performance, we are also making a clear recommendation. I think it's very important for the members to understand CFA modus operandi how it is performing in terms of the impairments, how it is performing in terms of the MFI and RFIs. You know, that for me, that's a ticking time bomb. You need to understand that. You need to understand the ownership of the MFIs and RFIs. You know, some have argued in the past that the use of these agencies, it's basically SIFA is sort of delegating its responsibility. Maybe one can argue otherwise. You also need to understand the rate of interest that is being charged by these MFIs and RFIs in relation to the National Credit Act, which stipulates that no one should be charged anything beyond 27% interest rate per annum. So there are a lot of issues, honorable members, that you need to understand with regards to SIFA modus operandi. That's why we are making a specific recommendation to say we need a dedicated session around SIFA to understand what exactly is happening. Honorable Tlomelang, okay, to start with, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Chair, I will craft the recommendation that speaks to observation 1, 2, 3, because really it's a broad observation around the current COVID-19 pandemic that the country is currently going through, which is wreaking havoc in terms of our economy. It's wreaking havoc in terms of our small business sector and the employment. So I will craft the recommendation around that. Then I will share it with you before Ubra King take the document for publishing. Honorable Tlomelang, again, your input speaks to the speeding up of SIFA-SIDA amalgamation, because as a portfolio committee, from where you are standing, it's easy to see the source of instability. If you do not have a permanent board, if you do not have a permanent CEO, you know, everybody is acting. That on its own, it's usually a source of instability, and the speeding up of the amalgamation will sort of bring about that required stability going forward. Honorable Tlomelang, you are also making a recommendation around the issue of the vacancies within the department. I will again craft that and incorporate it into the document. Honorable Jacobs is making an observation. Most of what Honorable Jacobs is raising, it's actually captured under SONA. These are some of the pronouncements that were made by the president during SONA. As expected, once the department tables its annual report, I'm sure members would want to know the progress in as far as the implementation of these is concerned. The issue, the observation again around the Grameen Bank model, perhaps, you know, owing to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, one may even consider having a virtual meeting with a Limpopo-based small enterprise fund, just really to get to understand, you know, how are they doing it? Because really, everybody is speaking highly of this SEF. Honorable April, you are also making an observation. It's also around the issue of the amalgamation of SIFA-SIDA, that it should be speeded up. So, Chair, I hope I'm covering all the issues that were raised by members, including the two recommendations that must be added or incorporated into the main document. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sbu. Honorable members, is there anyone who still wants to make some follow-up? Are we all covered?
Honorable TK, ma.
Okay, coming. Honorable TK. Come in, Honorable TK.
Yes, I'm here. I'm just trying to open the page here. I think. I think on my submission, maybe my narration was not appropriate, or on the second point that I was trying to make on recommendation 16.5. Sorry, rather, I think it's recommendation 5, which is 16.5 as presented by our content advisor, where it says SEPA financial stability requires greater scrutiny and focus from the portfolio committee. The agency since inception has struggled to collect outstanding loans, resulting in impairments and debt write-offs amounting to millions. The situation is likely to get worse with the current and ongoing pandemic. Right? METF allocations being reduced or reprioritized, and interest-free loans from IDC being fully exhausted. So the portfolio committee needs a detailed appraisal report and turnaround strategy from CIFA before the end of Q1 2021.
You are breaking. I don't know why, whether it's network or not. I can't hear you, but I heard you. You are on recommendation 11.5. What is your recommendation?
16.5. So
yeah, no, it's a misrecord. It is supposed to be 11.5.
Yeah,
yes.
correct. Maybe if I can request to our content advisor, Mr. Kumete, maybe to further elaborate on that recommendation 11.5, because my issue here, Chairperson, is that the financial wing, if it's dented, you know, then it's very unlikely for the department to function properly. So it says since its inception, it's been struggling to collect outstanding loans, you know, and the situation now is going to obviously get worse because of the ongoing pandemic, you know. So I don't know.
But he has recommended the last, sorry TK, but the last bullet try to address that. He is saying, our content advisor or our officials are saying the department must come up with a turnaround strategy or to indicate to us on how best are they going to deal with this matter, because it's a matter which has been there because of a lot of problems, the rate tapes, etc., failing to assist our entrepreneurs on the ground who has got those loans. So he is saying we need a report. He's requesting it on our behalf from the portfolio, from the department or from the agency, to can see how, moving forward, how best are they going to maybe stabilize that. And according to my view, that's how I understand the recommendation itself. So I don't know, maybe that's why you need clarity from the content advisor.
You know, I hear you, Chairperson. My worry here is we are putting petrol on an engineless car. However, it is clear what the recommendation is saying, but maybe.
Oh, okay, but your rejection is noted, but the majority of the members has adopted the report. So the report has been adopted. That's what I can say. The report has been adopted by the majority of the members, and we are noting your rejection.
Yes,
As-
we are noting your
Yes,
rejection.
that's what I can say.
Thank you, my mother.
So, pardon. Okay. Honorable members, we have come to the end of our discussion. What I would like to say to our content advisor and King is to add those other recommendations which has been raised by the honorable members, so that that full package must be observed by the department. And Sbu and King, please try to circulate. I believe you were busy crafting. Try to circulate those recommendations to all of us before it has been handed over to the House chairperson. We'll appreciate that.
Okay, thanks, Chair.
Thanks for your inputs. Thanks for your participation. The meeting stands adjourned.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings, everybody.
Thank you,
Have a
Chair.
good weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you.
Bye, Chair. Goodbye, Chair.
Thank you.
Chair,
Bye-bye.
Connecting again, April.
April, where do you come from? April, where do you come from?
He's coming.
Mr. Dodo.
Thank you, King.
We are collecting Masonja, leave.
King, can we move out? Close the meeting, please.
Okay, Chair, thank you.
I can see my PA. Namta, how are you?
A long time. How's the baby? How's the baby?
No, can't talk.
The baby is fine.
I'm going because you have come.
Tambulenyo kutele motini wena.
Thank you.
Tambulenyo kusebenza motweni.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye, Malorraine.
Bye, Mr. Kunene.
Da.
Hi, King. It's cold in
Okay, Chair.
Pumalanga today. Thank you.
Tambulenyo kutele motweni. I'm working from the car, Mr. Dodo. I'm working from the car.
Ulisile motweni.
I
Where
work-
are you?
King, can we close the meeting, please? Well done.
The meeting is closed.
Meeting closed. Thank you.
Where is Dodo? King.
He's in the car.
Who picked Dodo? Okay. Dodo. Hello.
Can you see me?
Bye. Yes.
Bye-bye. Tell King to close the
Bye-bye, Chair.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Dodo. You drive safe in your car. You're working from the car, Dodo.
I need fruits. No. I need fruits. It's breakfast time. Okay. meeting. Can't we close this meeting? Ngozimaliza corona. La ekele ndiro shuna ka bana ko be. Ke ke tana. Ler amene ke tana sana. Yeah, British. No, they're not control. They're not sure. Oh, it's for like. Mita ka ka se ai pali miti na banga mshamo musuka mita halaka. Munga pala.